did. It literally was just a who got here first. That's kind of weird, but okay. So everybody wants to get little. Nobody wants to. I know, because I wander around, but this is where I'm going to stand. So y'all want to get closer? Well, just trying to get everybody to move a little, move a little towards the front. Yeah, you're gonna run like a. Insert your own cliche here. I hope y'all are expecting some kind of cool slideshow because there is none. Man, it's hard running late with missing 3/4 of my family here. I got 60% of my family. They're all down in South Texas. Elizabeth will come back tomorrow. The girls will come back in a couple of weeks. Mid to late August. Yeah. No, and everyone's different. Everyone's different. Exactly. Okay. All right. I thought it was later than it was. I thought
Test,
it was
test,
running really
test.
late. That sounded like Pat. That or I'm like doing my ventriloquism act. Because I sounded just like Pat right there, didn't I? I sounded just like you right there. Oh, wait, that was you. I do impressions, but not that good. All right. All right, let's see. I didn't even get a bulletin. I'm going to get a bulletin just because I can. I need a bulletin. Morning. I'm good. How are you? Thank you. Just another day in paradise. Paradise. All right, yeehaw. All right. Everybody find their seats. We will get started here. Good morning. It's turning into a decent sized crowd today. Kind of wild. Everybody's home this weekend for once. In a while. I'm starting to get nervous. Pressure's building. Pressure's building fast. Plus, it's on the internet, and the internet's forever. Hope nobody's expecting like a show. There's no show. Where did that come from? It's subtle. All right. We can all find our seats. Is this not working again? How about now? Is that better? Yeah, I can't. It'd be weird standing like this all day. There, how's that? Oh, it tickles. It's like poking against my cheek. All right. How about now? Well, if everybody was not talking, maybe they could hear me. Maybe it's chicken or the egg thing. I don't know. Chatty bunch. Start calling people out by name. Start calling roll. Hey, strangers. How are y'all? I saw you up. Y'all were busy talking. Y'all doing all right? Oh, I'm here. It's another day in paradise. I'm Phil. Oh. Well, I figured that part out. I'm stupid, but I ain't crazy. Get her a name tag. That's what I do. Yeah, like I'm with her kind of I'm with her t-shirt. My wife has one that says I'm with stupid. It always points at me. It's weird. Weird. No, it flips. It's weird. All right, good morning. What a beautiful day. There's still a lake at the back of my property, and it's been 2 weeks since it quit raining. And there's a, I don't know about y'all, but I'm getting tired of mosquitoes. Mosquitoes are impressive this year. All right. Top of the morning to everyone. It's a pretty good crowd. No pressure. Let's make this fun. We've got a microphone to pass around. So before you say something, if anything, you raise your hand. That way we can get a microphone to you. Yeah, I hope they're not expecting a show because that's just not happening. That's just not happening. All right. Well, I'm going to start today by talking about somebody named Charlie. Charlie's not a guy per se. Charlie is a half Labrador Retriever, half Catahoula. Weighs about 120 pounds. He's big enough to saddle. Scared of lightning and thunder. Yeah, in case you haven't figured out, he's one of our dogs. He's about 8 years old. Big old gentle giant. Matter of fact, there's a picture with the Goin girls of them setting up for one of our clothes sales in years past. And Charlie's laying on the ground, and I can't remember which one it is now. One of the girls laying on him, reading. And he's just happy as can be. So, other than baths, he's not a fan of baths. His oldest daughter can testify because she thought she could handle him by herself, and it ended up taking both of us. And I'm still sore because he actually drug a cinder block we thought would hold him still. He drug a block and all to the door. Well, the thing about Charlie is how gentle he is with other dogs, with other people. But as we get into this, we'll come back to Charlie as we go through today. We talk about gentleness. Gentleness is one of those fruit of the Spirit that you just don't notice it until it's not there, right? I almost forgot. We've got to read our verse. Galatians 5:22-23. We're running out of time to do this. I hope you're getting it memorized by now. But the fruit of the Spirit is love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control. I think we're in verse 23 now. Against such things there is no law. That's kind of our mission, our vision, our mission, our theme for this study. Those two verses right there. So today it's what they call it, the penultimate one, gentleness. So, just a quick fire round. You don't need a microphone for this. Just holler it out. Characteristics of somebody who's lacking gentleness. If they don't have gentleness, what are they like? They're no fun to be around. No compassion. I heard something over here. I'm sorry. Just plain old cranky and grumpy, right? Sometimes they're downright mean. You know it when you see it, don't you? When somebody lacks gentleness, it is actually something you can see or feel. You kind of just go, there's just something not right about that person. They're rude, they're brash, they're loud, and more importantly, they tend to try and push the problems of the world onto you. With hurtful comments, with situations that you shouldn't be involved in, that you get involved in. They lack a gentleness. Sir.
Is gentleness, do you think, this is an opinion question, in our society, gentleness is a trait that many associate with women? Gentleness is a trait that's associated with women, with the female of the sex, and that men, now I know there are going to be some who say, well, I know a gentle man, but gentleness typically is more a trait that's associated with women and not so much with men. Or would you? I don't know. Or is there's an opinion?
That's a valid question. Is it easier for women to be gentle than men? Or is in society?
Okay, it's opinion. No, I don't agree with that. I think there's just as many gentle men as there are gentle women. Sorry.
And vice versa, yeah. And just as many not gentle women as not gentle men. Fair?
Is that? So think about the Sermon on the Mount. Blessed are the meek, right? Mm-hmm. And I think we miss. I know that we conflate meekness with weakness. When you actually look at that word that's used there for meek, it's like a bridled horse, is what it is. It's the horse, and that a horse that has been trained or broken and has a bridle, they're actually stronger, they're more powerful, they live longer, all of those things. And so meekness and gentleness, and it's power it's strength under control.
It depends on the situation. I mean, that's where we are in our season.
Right. I agree with that. It's situational, or it's how you're doing in your walk, or how it's easier for me to be gentle times better than others, right? Yeah. If I've had at least a good 6 hours, I'm a lot more gentle than if I've had about 3. And dogs braying the whole night. That's a great question, and of course everybody has literally stolen half of my notes for today, so I guess we can just go ahead and shut it down about 10. Call it let's remember the other fruits of the Spirit we've covered, and what aspect they have covered in our life. Remember, the first one, love, was our attitude. Joy had to do with our emotions. Peace was our mindset, how we viewed the world. Patience is how we react to situations. Kindness is how we behave. Goodness is what's our heart like. Faithfulness had to do with our character. So today we're going to talk about our gentleness is how we relate to people. It's amazing how they all kind of go back to that one template that God has given us, named Jesus. Yes, ma'am. Pat's not as fast as he used to be.
Well, gentleness is an action. You can, that is something you can see. You can't
Right.
look into a people's heart with the other things, but if I'm gentle to a person, if I hug them or have a kind word to them, it's an action.
It is. And it's and like we were talking about, a lot of times you'll notice it when it's not there. You know, it's kind of subtle until it's not there. Then you go, whoa, there's no gentleness there. So, of course, God is the point of all of the fruit of the Spirit is for us to reflect God to the world. That is the whole point of the fruit of the Spirit. That's where Paul was getting at. It's like, if you do these things, you show God to everybody around you. So, let's talk about God's gentleness. Let's look in Psalms real quick. Psalms 103. Let's look in Psalms 103. We'll start in verse 13. It says, just as a father has compassion on his children, so the Lord has compassion on those who fear him. For he himself knows our frame. He is mindful we are but dust. So God is gentle like a what? God is gentle like and his lamb. And in this verse, specifically, look at the fourth word in. He's gentle like a father. That gentleness that you see a dad with his kids, or you should see, you hope to see. I have seen some really, really big people just melt holding their son or daughter, or a nephew or niece, just as gentle as a kitten. So, we probably don't have to look this one up, but we'll do it anyway. Psalm 23. We probably could just all say it together. 23rd Psalm. And we're going to start at the beginning, verse 1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in the path of righteousness for his name's sake. Keep that in mind. Now let's look at Isaiah. Isaiah 40. I know we're jumping around a little bit today, so I'll go slow. Isaiah 40. It says, and let's start in verse 10 of Isaiah 40. And keep your finger on this one, put a pin in it, or however you do it, because we're going to come back to this. Verse 10, behold, the Lord God will come with might, with his arm ruling for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. Like a shepherd, he will tend his flock. In his arm, he will gather the lambs and carry them in his bosom. He will gently lead the nursing ewes. So these two verses, God's gentleness is like a shepherd. Like shepherds were supposed to do with their flock. Being gentle, treating the lambs with care, taking care of mama, all those things. Gentleness. So now we've seen God being gentle like a father, and God being gentle like a shepherd. So, that wasn't enough, God sent somebody down to earth to give us examples on how to do this. We all know the name quite well, Jesus. So let's look in Matthew 11. This would be Jesus talking. Okay, Matthew 11, verse 28. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Come to me, all who are heavy, weary and heavy laden, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble in heart, and you will find rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light. One more verse. John 10. We'll start in verse 10. 10:10. The thief comes only to steal and kill and destroy. I came that they may have life and have it abundantly. Verse 11. I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd lays down his life for his sheep. I think it's safe to say that Jesus faced a lot of opposition, a lot of criticism from folks around him. I think, is that safe to say? He was not revered by everybody, including those in power. Yet he was incredibly gentle. Can we think of some examples of Jesus' gentleness? I've got something written down, but this could be the interactive portion of our class. Woman at the well. A lot of gentleness. He knew her story. Still. And did she get what she thought she was going to get? Not even close. That was gentleness. What else? There's lots of them. Somebody put was it Malchus? I think Malchus in the garden when Peter cut his ear off, and Jesus put it back. Didn't have to do that. Even while he's being led off, about to be led off, okay, not in handcuffs, but under guard, knowing what was about to happen, he still had enough gentleness and compassion to go, okay, let me fix it real quick. That's a lot of gentleness. What about with his disciples? How often was he gentle with them? Well, think about just you start and end with Peter. Yeah, I saw something the other day that it was a perspective I hadn't really thought about. Was Jesus knew the whole time what Judas was going to do. And yet he treated them as a brother, as an equal, as a friend. If I knew somebody was going to do something like that to me, there is no way, I'm going to be honest with you, there's no way I would treat them the same as if somebody who had my best interest at heart or didn't have the black heart. And maybe it's somewhere, but that's just not. That's a gentleness that I can try to emulate, but I cannot approach. Think about. I'm sorry. Oh, and we're supposed to try and do as best we can. Well, think about Peter. Between the gentleness he showed him when Peter said, "Oh yeah, let me come out and walk on the water." It's like, all right, come on. You know? Or how many times Peter stick his foot in his mouth? And God was gentle with him. Or James and John fighting over who gets the best seats in heaven. It's like, yes, sir.
I was sitting there thinking, and it may not go what you're saying, but Peter was told he was going to deny Jesus 3 times. So he's carrying a lot of frustration in the garden.
Yes.
And so when the soldiers come, he's hacking off ears. He has no compassion. He's got anger.
And Peter had this incredible habit of acting before thinking for the longest time. And yes, so he had pent-up frustrations. He was afraid. Jesus had just dressed him down and said, listen, you're not as good as you think you are.
Right. And I guess my question is, and I'm asking myself the question, how can I still show compassion when I have pent-up frustration and issues going on in my life? Maybe that's the time for me to reflect myself. Maybe it's time to still show compassion. We can all improve and speak more Christ life or situations that we can't do maybe at one time down the road, maybe we can.
That's part of growing, isn't it? Where it's like, okay, next time I'll try to get it right. I mean, thankfully, we talked about God's patience. That's working. We talked about his love and his kindness and his goodness and all those things that we're supposed to reflect him using, he gives us all the time. And we don't honestly deserve it all that well some days, or any days. Learning to turn the other cheek. That's worth its own Bible class with me, because that's a hard one. Sir.
How do we square with what Jesus did to people? How do we square with how he was? And some of the general examples of how he also was when the situation required it, with
I'm
people
looking for it.
selling merchandise in the temple.
We're actually
Is that the general Jesus on display?
We're actually going to talk about that here in a second. Yeah, let's actually let's go ahead and talk about that. So, attributes of gentleness. Let's remember that verse in Isaiah I told you to hang on to, Isaiah 40. Let's go back to verse 10, Isaiah 40:10, real quick. This verse 11 a while ago we talked about was the fact we were talking about he's like a shepherd. Verse 10 says, behold, the Lord God will come with might, with his arm ruling for him. Behold, his reward is with him, and his recompense before him. So let's look at Matthew 21, which is what we just talked about. Matthew 21. And we've been touching around this whole topic, the whole class, which is great. Because now let's kind of tie it together. So Matthew 21, verse 12. And Jesus entered the temple and drove out all those who were buying and selling in the temple, and overturned the tables of the money changers and the seats of those who were selling doves. And he said to them, it is written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you are making it a robber's den. So, we just talked about how gentle Jesus was with Peter and James and John and the woman at the well and the woman committing adultery and the lady that grabbed his coat walking by to be healed. He had compassion for her and gentleness for her. How do we reconcile that with this Jesus right here, who is flipping tables, tossing seats, and making sure that everybody knows his opinion on that subject?
The very next verse, and the blind and the lame came to him in the temple and healed them.
So, right after that, he turns around and starts healing people.
It's the full measure of love, the full measure of compassion and patience. When your children, and I have a toddler, so I haven't had the experience as much yet, but
Right.
If you don't love your brother, your sister, your father, your mother, your son, your daughter, your cousins, pastor, Thomas, enough to say the things they need to hear, then that's not the full measure of love. You're missing that compassion. You're missing that patience. But that's my opinion.
I think and I think what we're really kind of dancing around, and what the point is gentleness does not equal weakness. Society tells men that if you're nice, if you're gentle, then you're weak. Now, we know better than that, don't we? Because we have the perfect example right here of somebody who did no sin, did no wrong, resisted Satan, for crying out loud, did the job of saving us, and he showed gentleness at every turn, including, he's showing gentleness to the folks that are being hassled by these changers. He showed gentleness to the guys that were doing the money changing because they needed to not be hassling people. Gentleness does not equal weakness. It's and the I just heard the term righteous anger, which I've never really been able to wrap my arms around. But I guess if it was ever a case of that, was when Jesus would get angry or frustrated. I mean, there are times like think about it on the ship when the storm's going on and the apostles are like, just losing it, going, we're going to die. You're not doing anything. If I just have this vision of Jesus getting up from sleeping and going, okay, one more time. It may win one way. But I know there had to have been times when Jesus looked at his disciples and went, are you even listening? I think you are, but sometimes I wonder. But yet he had enough gentleness with him to keep going and to keep doing the same things that caused them to, well, we know how it turns out after he's gone, right? They all scatter and preach the gospel to almost without exception their own death. So that's powerful. So gentleness does not equal weakness. I'm going to throw this out there, and I got a couple of verses that we can chew on it with also. Let me throw this out there. Only the strong can truly be gentle. Only the strong can be gentle. So let's look at 2 Timothy. Let's just kind of get some scripture here to kind of help us work through this. And I'll tell you what I'm thinking. 2 Timothy 1:7, for God has not given us a spirit of timidity, but of power and love and discipline. So God did not make us meek. He gave us the ability to be meek. But we have the ability. And let me get this clear. I don't mean bullying. I don't mean running roughshod through people. That's not strong. The kind of strength we're talking about is, look in Hebrews. Hebrews 4. So Hebrews 4:14. Therefore, since we have a great high priest who has passed through the heavens, Jesus the Son of God, let us hold fast our confession. For we do not have a high priest who cannot sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who has been tempted in all the ways we are, yet without sin. Therefore, let us draw near with confidence to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. So we've been shown how to do it, right? It's keeps coming back, doesn't it? That situation keeps coming back around. We've got a template, if you will. I don't know why I like using that word. I think because in healthcare, templates and checklists are everywhere. But Jesus went through everything that we're going to see, and to a much higher degree. I mean, we've all been tempted by Satan, and still are, but not directly. Not where he hasn't, stood in front of me and went, "I will give you this if you give me this." It's more subtle now, which is probably harder. So, let me read a couple of Proverbs to you. You don't have to look them up. They're short. Proverbs 15:1 says, "A gentle answer turns away wrath, but a harsh word stirs up anger." Proverbs 25:15 says, "By forbearance a ruler may be persuaded, and a soft tongue breaks the bone." First Corinthians 4. Yeah, let's look at that one. 1 Corinthians 4, verse 20. First Corinthians 4, verse 20, and we'll do 20 and 21. "For the kingdom of God does not consist in words, but in power. What do you desire? Shall I come to you with a rod, or with love and a spirit of gentleness?" So let me do a caveat to my statement that only the strong can be gentle. How about gentleness is strength under control? How's that? We can think about instances where somebody had a opportunity to be mean or cruel or harsh and didn't, or showed compassion, showed gentleness to whether it be another person, maybe to Charlie, my dog, because when the lightning and thunder starts, he tends to run to one of my girls' bedroom and cower, and so I've actually heard them playing him music because that seems to calm him down. They could also be afraid of the thunder, but they don't show it. They provide strength for his comfort. I managed to find a way to work a dog into this. But then that way with people as well. I can be just as afraid of something as you are. But maybe if I can provide you some gentleness and some comfort, or vice versa, it's a two-way street, then doesn't that get us through some rough patches? So, we've got about 8 minutes left. How do we grow our gentleness? This is where it gets, this is pretty much open forum at this point. I mean, I've got a bunch of notes of places we can be gentle.
If you want to be, what did you say? What was the question?
How do we grow our gentleness?
Okay, grow our gentleness. We can learn from other people who are gentle and emulate their gentleness. My head honcho boss at work is not a Christian, but he's a phenomenal leader. Mm-hmm. And even when people need to be scolded, I've seen the way he approaches it tactfully with gentleness and makes the outcome better. He gets across his point, but it's done in a manner where I don't feel like he belittled me or scalded me. It was done in a spirit of gentleness. So I'm kind of emulating this, even from a non-Christian.
That's actually one of the ones I wrote down: gentleness in teaching. by example or by word or by. I have students occasionally that are doing residency or something like that, and I have to make sure that I don't bombard them with stuff, or I have to actually be gentle on how I bring them along, because to me, after 35 years, things just are kind of pretty intuitive. Somebody who's been doing it for about a month, not so much, and that's a much harder thing to climb. Yes, ma'am.
Well, we have seen true gentleness when our oldest had open heart surgery at 4, and the church got together, and every 15 minutes some other people come and sat with us, because that baby was in surgery longer than it was supposed to be expected. And every 15 minutes there were some other people, and we were just amazed. And the elders said, we got to be there. And every 15 minutes somebody else came and held our hand. That's gentleness, and we need to learn to do this.
That's probably one of the more important, I think, attributes of a church is the gentleness with each other. Because it is how we get along with people. Yes, ma'am. Oh, you better wait for your uncle to get there, or he's going to hit me.
Can I just talk loud?
No.
Okay.
I can hear
Hello.
you. It's not my fault. Not my fault.
Okay. I think that we can grow in our gentleness by being intentional about it. So I really believe that people are gifted with different fruits of the Spirit naturally, right? Like God may have made me naturally with more gentleness than he made Clay, right? Because I'm a woman and he's a man or whatever. But I feel like if we can catch ourselves and be intentional about it and practice it, then it gradually becomes more natural to us.
Yeah. That's right. Right. I always tell my residents there's only 3 ways to get better: practice, 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 or find another line of work. Because if you think I tell them, if you think I have all the answers after 35 years, then you are sorely mistaken. And I don't think it would be good to know all the answers. Do y'all? Because we stop growing. We stop learning. We stop getting better. If I am just as good as Christ, which of course never happened, that's an absolute extreme example. That's not attainable, because there's only one Jesus. We can do our dead level best to get as close to him as we can, and we're supposed to. But there's always going to be room to get better. Thankfully, God understands that. Thankfully, God acknowledges that and does not expect perfection. He expects us to attempt it, to strive for it.
Yeah, well, she said it, and I was going to say the same thing. If you're practicing it, you are going to have moments of perfection. We're never going to be perfect, but if you're practicing and putting forth effort all the time, you're going to have moments of it. And the more you do it, the more moments of perfection you're going to have.
It's one of those things where it's kind of like a snowball. One of those things that can snowball. Gentleness can lead to, love can lead to gentleness, and gentleness lead to patience, and patience lead to self-control. It's just, all of a sudden you can get better at all the ones you're not so good at, because you're right. And I think that's one of the most underrated things about marriage is complementing each other on strengths of fruit of the Spirit. There's going to be Elizabeth's great at some things I'm not, and I'm pretty good at some things she's working on too. But between the two of us, we can probably, fight it off a lot easier than if we were by ourselves. So I think being gentle in marriage is one of the things we can work on our gentleness, and that's how we deal with our spouse.
Best way to turn away anger
is
I
caught
with
you
the,
up.
the best way to turn away anger is with a gentle response. They can't argue with you if you don't argue.
A gentle answer turns away wrath. That's one of the proverbs we just talked about. Yes. All right, we got 2 minutes. Anything else? There we go. Yes, ma'am.
We have to remember that these are fruits, and what produces the fruit, the seed has to be planted
Mm-hmm.
and watered and fertilized. And so the fruits of the Spirit are when we are in the Spirit. We need to look to Jesus in the Spirit in order to produce fruit.
We can't grow it all by ourselves, can we?
Now, there are
Yeah.
people I know who are gentle, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're, I mean, I can't judge, but you can still have a heart that's not in sync with Jesus and still exhibit those characteristics. But what he's saying here is these are things that are going to happen to you when you're in the Spirit.
At the end of the day, the best way to grow our gentleness or any other fruit of the Spirit is to ask God to help us. Because that's where it comes from. It comes from the Word. That's the seed. It comes from the great gardener. That would be God tending us. That gets us our fruit. Yes, ma'am. Are you? Yeah, prayer is paramount. Prayer is probably the most important part of this. And thankfully, it's the easiest part. I mean, it's pretty easy to ask for something from God. And He will answer it. Now, granted, it's the whole thing about how you, if you ask for God for patience, He's going to give you a situation that requires you to be patient. If you ask God for, certain things, He's going to get you in a situation where you're going to have to develop it. He doesn't just give it to you. He gives you the ability to grow it yourself. But He does, and it's there for us. All right, anything else? Qualms, quibbles, queries, quotations, qualifications, quandaries. All right, we got one more left, self-control. It's going to be great, but I'm going to exercise self-control and not brag on it too much. So next week we'll talk about self-control. Thank you all so much.